Welcome to Phase 4 of Fit Yoga Therapy's Happy Hips Flexibility Program. Phase 4 focuses on resistance stretching. We are going to start by working on Figure 4 stretch, mostly focusing on the outer hip. You're going to begin by bringing yourself onto your back. Let's stretch this leg first, so take your leg across Figure 4 style. Remember, you can always use a strap if you can't reach your thigh. You're going to thread through here and begin halfway. So the idea is, as I'm pulling my leg closer in, I'm resisting by pushing the knee down and the other leg down, this leg down. So exhale, pull your leg in, bring your head and nose towards your leg, then release back to where you started. Exhale, pulling. So this leg is pushing down. These muscles are resisting the stretch I'm giving them. So what's happening is I'm getting those muscles stronger, especially in this end range of motion. Exhale. You're going to do this 6 to 10 times. For our practices in the videos, we'll just do it 6 times. The whole time you're feeling the stretch in the outer hip mostly, and I'm pushing down with this leg. When you get to the final stretch, hold there, really breathe. Don't hold your breath. You can relax your head and neck and then keep the stretch going. Now you're just doing a passive stretch. Maybe you hold that for 4 to 5 breaths. There's no real strict protocol. Bring the leg down and notice how that leg feels. Then you would switch sides, cross the leg over, bring your hands through. I'm pushing down with this leg that's crossed. Exhaling, pushing, inhaling, releasing. Exhaling, pushing, inhaling, releasing. Exhaling, pushing, inhaling, releasing. On the last one, you hold it in. Let your head and neck relax, but keep pushing that leg against this leg. So I'm pushing my ankle into this leg as I'm holding the in-range stretch, so I'm getting strong at that range. And then you can release that pushing and just hold a passive stretch. And slow your breath down. Try not to force, just receive what is already there. Come back to constructive rest. Next, we're going to move into supine cow face stretch. This one can be used instead of the Figure 4 stretch or in addition to it. It's a little more challenging for some people. Begin by stretching your legs up to the ceiling, cross one knee over the other, and bend your knees. So it's just like doing cow face where you're sitting on the floor, but it's much more accessible. Then you're going to take your hands on top of your shins, and I'm pushing my feet towards each other, and then I'm going to press gently down. Now you can push, contracting as you come out of it, and then contracting as you go deeper into it. Or you can release it as you come out of it and resist as you're going into it. Again, resisting both on the in and the out is definitely more work, requiring more strength training. But you for sure want to resist as I'm dropping into the stretch. I'm pushing my shins into my hands and my hands into my shins. The feet are more directly out to the side. Then after you've done maybe 6 to 10 repetitions, you're going to start to feel a little bit more movement. And then at that point, hold isometrically for a few breaths, 1 to 2 breaths, 8 to 10 seconds. And then just relax that and let the deepening of the stretch happen. I'm not trying to pull my heels towards my buttocks. I'm trying to bring my feet more parallel to the ceiling. Imagine cow face if you were sitting on the floor. Then you release, bring the legs up. Remember which one you cross on top. Switch to the other one. Bring the legs across. So I'm going to push down with my hands and up with my legs. I'll start out with resisting both times on the way up and on the way out. And then as my muscles get tired, I'm just going to resist as I move into the stretch. You should never feel any joint pain. Should be nice, slow breathing. Always receiving what's there, never forcing. If you have any pain in the knees with this, just don't do this one. Just let it happen. Going into your final stretch, you're going to hold, isometrically pushing up with the legs, down with the hands, and then release that and just let the weight of your hands pull the legs down, or you could even release like we did and the butterfly and let gravity do your work. This is just your static stretch. And then coming out, coming back to a neutral position, letting those hips marinate a little bit. We're going to do seated cow face, which you can do instead of the supine cow face or figure four, or in addition. This one's a little bit more difficult for a lot of people. You may have to sit up on a block. If your knees are way high, I would raise your hips up on a block or a bolster. The same thing, you're going to cross one leg over the other to stretch the outer hip. So take one knee across the other and then bring your feet in. The closer your feet are to your hips, the less stretch there is, because we're trying to get external rotation. The further away your feet are, the more parallel they are to the front of your mat, the more stretch you're going to get in the outer hip. So you want to find the place where you can be, where your knees stay stacked, and where there's not too much compression in the hip. So for me, I have to bring them a little bit closer. Then you're going to start your resistance. So you're resisting as you're folding forward, you're pressing your legs down into the surface. And just like before, you can resist on the way up and on the way down. So basically I'm pushing the entire time. I'm folding forward and I'm pushing my legs down as I'm coming up. That just adds more strengthening. If you're more focused on the stretch, maybe relax on the way up and then push down just when you're folding. Keeps it from being quite as fatiguing. Depending on what you've already done that day. You've already gone and ridden your bike or done a sport and your legs are super tired. Just resist on the way into the stretch. Remember to exhale as you enter and inhale as you come out. And as you find that final stretch, folding forward, push your hands into the floor and press your sit bones back and down. This is going to add a nice low back stretch. Feels really good. So I'm pushing so my tailbone reaches the floor, rounding my back. Deep belly breaths. And then you can just passively fold over after that if you enjoy that cow face, letting your head fall forward, maybe onto a block or your knee. As we come out of that, we're going to unwind the legs. Come into a neutral position for a breath or two. Switch sides. Hips are usually very different, especially if you have a dominant side of your body that you do an athletic activity with. So again, find the place where your shins are more parallel to the front, but your knee is not up here. Find a place maybe where you might have to sit up on a block if your knee is up here. Bring your hands forward. Fold. I'm pushing down with my legs as I'm folding. And I'm pushing down with my legs as I'm lifting. That's option one. More intense for sure, because you're pushing and holding that contraction the whole time. It helps to breathe as you're doing this. Slowly exhale. That keeps you from being too tense. Or maybe start to move just where you're resisting as you move into the stretch, and you're releasing as you move out. As you find your final stretch, I encourage you to add that push with the hands, pushing your tailbone down, rounding the spine. Taking a few deep belly breaths into the back body. Exhale and expand the belly towards the spine. Inhale, let that go. Exhale, bringing the belly toward the spine. And then, of course, you can relax. If you like that relaxing stretch, maybe something under your forehead to connect with. Coming up slowly. We're going to move into the resistance stretching for the quadriceps and the hip flexor. This one, you're going to be pushing your shin into your hand. If you're going to use the wall, you might need a blanket for under your knee. Walk backwards to the wall. Take your knee on the blanket and your shin against the wall. Opposite leg forward. Pull the belly in. And then push your shin into the wall as you bring your hips back towards the wall. Release back out of that. Pull the belly button in and push the shin into the wall. If the wall is too much, if it hurts your ankle, you can do this instead on the floor. Same thing, you might even want to use a strap to grab your ankle. One leg forward. And I'm pushing my shin into the strap as I'm pulling my hips back. Don't worry if you can't come back very far. Maybe you're only here. And you're resisting by trying to straighten your knee as you're moving your leg back towards your heel. When you get to that final one, hold an isometric stretch for a breath or two. 10 seconds, and then just passively pull it in. If you keep your abdominals tight, you're going to feel it more in the front of your hip as well as the front of your thigh. Coming out, come into a neutral position. Let that leg be straight for a moment. And switch sides. So, moving against the wall or not using the wall. Usually the wall is better for people who have more flexibility in their thigh. So I know some of you do. You can get your body all the way up against the wall, tuck the belly in, pulling the tailbone down, but you still need to come out of it and push as you go into it. So even if you can start out against the wall, you want the resistance to be on the way to the wall. The same thing with the one on the floor. Try to keep your breath calm. If it's too intense, don't push as hard. When you get to that final stretch, hold. I'm still pushing into the wall with my shin still contracting that thigh muscle. This moves into the more P&F technique. And then I'm just passively stretching. Coming out, you want to get yourself down and in a position where your leg is not as bent, just to get the muscles to relax even more. From that pose, we're going to move into butterfly. I'm going to use a chair, but I want you to use a wall. The chair is for demonstration purposes. So you get your feet up against the wall, get your hips really close so that your knees are going to go out. What you're going to do is you're going to start with your knees in, put your hands on your inner thighs. Exhaling, you push your thighs against your hands and your hands against your thighs as you open the legs out. Then slowly inhaling, come back to center. Exhaling, pushing. You're not doing 100% resistance, just pushing to what feels comfortable. You're feeling the muscle work. Resisting all the way out. If you want, you can make it more intense by resisting all the way in. Resist on the way out. I like just to give my legs a little bit of relaxation by not resisting on both sides, in and out, but that's up to you. The key is that you're giving the muscle that you're stretching resistance. So every time you're coming into more range of motion, you're getting stronger at that place. When you've reached your last repetition, at the end of your range of motion, hold. I'm pushing my hands against my legs and my legs against my hands. And then I'm just going to relax that. That's adding a little P and F at the end of the stretch. Now we're just simply doing a static stretch for the inner thighs. And you can stay there as long as you'd like, maybe 8 to 10 breaths if you want to. Let the legs get heavier and heavier. I'm not pushing down a lot with my hands. I just have the weight of my hands. You could even let go and just let gravity do the work. And then when you're done, use your hands to bring your thighs together. And again, come into constructive rest so that you can reset anything that you've been working on. Lay there for 3 or 4 breaths. We're going to move into resistance stretching for the hamstrings. For this, you want to lay on your back. Bring the leg in towards the chest. You have to bring it into where you can reach it. A strap won't really work with this because you have to resist down and up. You're going to press up with the hands and down with the calf as you straighten the leg. You can resist on the way in and on the way out. For a lot of us, we won't get that leg all the way straight because this angle of the hip, it's really tough. Don't worry about that. We're focused here on building strength in the range of motion you can get at this angle. Remember to breathe. Exhaling as you're resisting. And then if you decide not to resist both in and out, just inhale, relax. Exhale, resist. I'm pulling down with my calf, up with my hands. Inhale, relax. Exhale, resist. Inhale, relax. When you get to that final repetition, 6 to 10, hold wherever you are. Don't worry about it. And relax. And then hold that stretch. If at this point you want to straighten your leg and go to the range you have passively and hold the passive stretch, that would be great. You could grab a strap and do that. After you relax and hold that static stretch, come to a neutral place. Maybe bend your knees to your chest. And go to the other side. So you grab behind. I'm going to lower my leg so you can see. This leg can be bent or straight, depends what feels good for your back. I'm pushing down with my calf and up with my hands. Starting out resisting on the way down and on the way up. And boy, my arms are getting tired. So you're not only strengthening the muscle that you're stretching, if you're resisting with your arms, you're strengthening your arms too. And then you can just resist on the way down and relax on the way up. Resist on the way up, relax on the way down. So it's important because if you're resisting on the way up, that's where you get the strengthening in the hamstrings, because I'm resisting as I'm stretching. That's the resistant stretching, resisting as you're stretching. When you get to the end range of motion, just hold isometrically, pushing down with your hand, up, calf up with your hands. Eventually going to your static stretch passively. Find the range where you can straighten that knee. As you can see, my left side's more flexible than my right. As you finish, come back to a neutral spine. A little nice chest or happy baby can be nice here. Bringing the feet to the ground. Settle in, constructive rest. Moving into Shavasana relaxation if you're done. Letting your body totally relax into the floor. Legs relax, shoulders relax. Cleansing breath or two. Staying in relaxation 5 to 10 minutes.